House lawmakers questioned Homeland Security officials at a hearing today over the department's use of facial recognition technology. Well, this follows reports that ICE and other agencies are using state driver databases for facial recognition searches to track undocumented immigrants. And some lawmakers believe that the use of the technology violates civil liberties. But officials today argue that the benefits of actually using this technology outweighs the concerns.
It gives us the ability to validate a person's biographical identity within 2 to 3 seconds without having to actually handle the physical passport. It allows us to link it up in a secure way. So the person we did all our national security checks against, and TSA is send their national security checks against on international flights, corresponds to the person who's in front of us.
And we did data collection on the number of people who were choosing not to provide biometric identification at our checkpoint, and it was less than 1%. People seem to enjoy it. The traveling public moves to the checkpoint very rapidly, and the best part of it is we enhance identity verification, thereby enhancing security.
Joining me now is Scott Wandt. He's an associate professor of public policy and technologist at John Jay College of Criminal Justice. Adam, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So, when you talk about facial recognition technology, there are so many benefits, particularly to law enforcement, but do the benefits outweigh the setbacks for some people for privacy issues?
I think there are two sides to this story. On one side to this story, facial recognition is an incredibly powerful technology that can keep us safe, especially at really large events like sporting events or at ports of entry, for example. It's able to look through a lot of people very quickly and identify targets of interest, and I think that's the benefits. However, legislatures and certain technologists around the country are also scared that this technology could be abused if used widespread. You very often don't know where and when it's deployed. You very often don't know what type of population it's looking at. And lawmakers and certain advocates are worried that it's being used to target, undocumented immigrants and others without them knowing about it.
When you talk about undocumented immigrants, what's the biggest fear right now?
I think the biggest fear is that we don't know how long these records are kept for. And I think one of the biggest fears is that over time a database will be built up of both citizens and not citizens, their locations and where they travel, and that in a very short period of time the government can go and round up these individuals if they know where they are. I think that we don't know where the records are being kept. We don't know how accurate they are. There's an inherent bias with facial recognition.
Right.
And this bias very often is bias against minorities.
And women too, right?
Absolutely. We've seen a lot of white men being used to train facial recognition. And very often when it's not a white man that it's looking at, we get a lot of false positives. And that could lead to a lot of inconvenience for somebody, especially if they're picked up by law enforcement.
When you talk about that, are there these AI hurdles when you're talking about, the basis of having white males being accurately read, but minorities and women not? These hindrances, are they working on fixing it, especially with AI technology?
Absolutely. AI ethics is one of the hottest topics in technology today. And being able to figure out how to properly train AIs and keep them safe for the population is an absolute priority of not only most technology companies, but of Congress. I mean, it's something they're talking about constantly. So I think over time we will see this problem minimized.
Some privacy advocates are saying there just needs to be a ban, period, on this type of technology. We shouldn't be using it. Do you believe that there's some sort of compromise when it comes to legislation where both sides can have it their way?
I do. I think a ban is ridiculous and it's overboard. I think that there are some very specific incidences where government and law enforcement should be using this technology to keep us safe, and that by looking at protocols as to when it is deployed and protocols as to how long we will keep the information, and by improving the AI infrastructure, I think over time we will come to a middle ground where facial recognition is able to keep us safe without violating our rights.
All right. I want to thank you very much for joining us, Adam.
Thank you again.
Appreciate your time. Scott Wandt, thank you very much.
You're welcome.